Marriage is God's order. Dear Christian young people, when we look at the world today, many people are delaying marriage or choosing not to marry at all. Even after getting married, many separate easily or choose to live apart because they feel they are not compatible. Why is that? Many people think marriage is about finding someone who perfectly matches them. However, there is no one in this world who is exactly the same as you. Men and women are different. Their thoughts are different, their emotions are different, their ways of living are different. God intentionally created them that way. The Bible says in Genesis 2:18, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." God did not see a person living alone as the complete picture. Therefore, He gave a woman to the man and a man to the woman so they could help one another, love one another, and live together. It is normal for husbands and wives to be different. Because they are different, they learn from one another because they are different. They make an effort to understand one another because they are different. They fill in each other's weaknesses. Yet many people today think being different is a problem. If personalities are different, they separate. If hobbies are different, they drift apart. If opinions are different, they choose to live separately. However, the thinking of a person in their 20s is different from the thinking of a person in their 70s. Those who have lived a long life understand something important. Marriage is not simply an arrangement for enjoyment. Marriage is God's covenant of responsibility, care, and commitment. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 4:9, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor." When you are young, living alone may seem free and comfortable. But as time passes, your perspective changes. After the age of 50, you may notice your heart becoming more fixed in its ways. At 70, loneliness often begins to appear. At 80, you realize how precious it was to have someone with whom you laughed and cried. A friend is still a friend. No matter how good a friend may be, a friend cannot take the place of a husband or a wife. That is why God created husbands and wives to care for one another. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 7:4, "The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband." In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. This means that husband and wife are to take responsibility for one another and live in love. Dear young people, the world teaches that personal freedom is more important than marriage. But the Bible teaches love, responsibility, commitment, and companionship. Do not search for a perfectly compatible person. There is no such person in this world. Seek someone who loves God, someone who can pray with you, someone who can embrace your weaknesses and whose weaknesses you can embrace. Do not be afraid of marriage. The family that God establishes is still a channel of God's blessing today. Christian young people, pray for a faithful spouse within God's will. Build the family that God has prepared for you. Marriage is not a human invention. It is a holy order established by God. When you walk in obedience to that order, God will lead your life in an even more beautiful way.